What's going on, everyone? Episode number 12 for all my sales innovators out there. Welcome back to the channel. If you are just seeing this for the first time, I'm Jake Dunlap. We explore what's happening in the intersection of sales, B2B sales specifically, AI, and other technology. And what does it mean to be the future of sales? And today's episode might be a little controversial because I'm going to dive into, will AI destroy the human touch in sales? AI and automation becoming increasingly prevalent. It's a question that I know many of you are thinking about. Are we headed toward a future where algorithms are going to replace the human interaction? Or is there a way for AI to enhance our connections with clients instead of diminishing them? So stick around. In today's episode, I'm going to cover and unpack a complex topic, which is I believe that the human touch isn't just surviving, it's going to thrive thanks to AI. First, I'm going to walk you through some of my sales process trends. We're going to explore two topics: the role of emotion in sales. Spoiler alert, it's not going away. We'll discuss why emotions remain at the heart of sales interactions and how they influence buying decisions, even in this very async digital age. The other thing I'm going to talk about in sales trends is automation with human interactions. We'll look at how the most successful sales people are combining the efficiency of automation, and I'm not talking about automating your emails or your calls. Instead, I'm talking about the stuff behind the scenes so you can spend more time on the human connection and creating a better experience. In tech trends, if you're your first time watching the show, we do sales trends, we do tech trends, so I'm excited. I'm going to talk about how to automate those routine tasks so you can not spend time entering shit into Salesforce or spend time entering things into machines. I'm going to help you discover how automating mundane tasks is going to free you up to invest more time in investing in the most high value relationships and closing more deals. So look, as we dive in, I get it. There's a real fear that AI might make sales feel cold or impersonal or even replace the need for salespeople altogether. But here's the thing. AI isn't here to replace us. It's not here to destroy the human touch. It's about how we leverage it to enhance our human abilities and not diminish it. So think about how much time you spend on all these tasks: scheduling meetings, entering data, generating reports. What if you could automate those? So in today's episode, I'm going to tell you how in your sales process and by using technology, you can not just enhance your experiences, you can make them world-class. All right, before we dive in, if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss another episode. This is episode number 12, so you can just hit pause. You can go back and watch some of the other episodes as well, too. Let's get into some of our sales trends. All right, my friends, trends in the sales process today. I'm going to tackle two very specific topics that I know because we work with hundreds of CEOs and CROs every single year. And first, I'm going to talk about the role of emotion in sales. Despite all the technological advancements, the human element still remains undefeated. And here's why. Emotional connection matters. I love this stat. 95% of purchasing decisions, this is wild, are driven by subconscious urges. That's Harvard Business School. This isn't Jake's opinion. Emotions significantly influence purchasing decisions, and understanding that can dramatically boost your sales success. And not only that, let's talk about the impact of storytelling. Look, I get it. It's kind of tough in digital selling today. You're like looking at the green dot, you're looking at the picture of the person, you're sharing your screen. There's a lot of different things going on, but don't forget about storytelling. A compelling story doesn't just convey information, it evokes emotion. It makes your brand more memorable. Stanford said that stories are up to 22 times more memorable. Think about that. When was the last time a spreadsheet got you super pumped up? But a powerful story that can inspire change, differentiate you, that makes the data and that spreadsheet come to life. And last, let's talk about empathy. Empathy makes you a better person, but it also makes you a better salesperson. And I talked about this in last week's episode. If you didn't watch episode 11, go watch episode 11. By listening, right? Turn your ears on, not your mouth, and genuinely understanding and responding to their needs, you foster trust and loyalty. It's not just about closing a sale. It's about building a relationship when you turn your ears on. Share relevant stories, craft narratives that resonate with your customer's experience. Prepare some of those stories in advance. Think about what they're going through. Put yourself in their shoes. Customers may forget what you said. When I talk about emotion in sales, they might forget, oh, Jake mentioned this feature, did blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you right now, they will not forget how you made them feel. If they leave that call excited, if they leave that call like, oh, that was interesting, this person like knows what they're talking about, and you build an emotional connection, that's what leads to long-term loyalty and repeat business too. Now that we've explored how emotions and human interactions are still still going to be central to sales success. I want to pivot to tech trends. In this part, I'm going to dive into how technology is just not automating tasks, but also empowering you or your company to operate more efficiently and accurately than ever before. I'm going to talk about a few things. Automating routine tasks so you can go focus on building relationships and not doing dumb things like entering data. And also error reduction and scalability. This is the boring stuff. How inaccurate is a lot of the things that we put into systems because, again, we forgot and it's a day later. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can decrease errors, make sure your data entry stuff is more scalable as well too. All right, let's get into it. Let's face it. Our boss wants us to enter in a bunch of stuff. We don't like to enter in stuff. We got to do a bunch of manual stuff that feels like it's repetitive data entry, scheduling meetings, sending follow-up emails. These tasks are essential, but God, do they eat up a lot of time. And we could be spending our time doing a lot of other things. I'm going to talk about how automation can help you focus on high-value activities. According to McKinsey, salespeople only spend about 36% of their time selling, and the rest is like doing admin. So imagine reclaiming a significant portion of that time by automating routine tasks. You can free yourself up to engage more deeply, send a more thoughtful follow-up, prepare more. And I'm going to give you my one quick action tip on how to do this. There's a million different tools out there, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at your calendar, pull it up right now. Go ahead, you can hit pause. I want you to pick one area of something you hate doing, and I guarantee there is a tech for that. For instance, you've got scheduling apps like Calendly. If you're just going back and forth with someone, send a freaking link. It can handle the logistics. It can free up time for you to not have to do all that back and forth. And I know it seems like a few minutes here or there, but man, over the course of a year, you're talking about days of your life. Another one that I really like is manual data entry into Salesforce. And a lot of that data is prone to mistakes, right? That's the error component of this. Automating data entry can reduce human errors by 40%. That means the next time that you have a call with somebody, you're like, oh, I actually remember what happened versus like, oh yeah, I remember my call with Ziggy 5 days ago. No, you don't. You don't remember that. Mistakes in data entry can lead to misinformed strategy. It can help you lose opportunities, and automating some of these tools can make a very, very big difference. There's one that I like right now. It's called attention.tech. We are using it ourselves. We're using it for clients. It literally listens to your calls. You tell it which Salesforce fields that you want to make sure automatically filled out. It will listen for that and automatically enter the data. God, I wish I had that when I was a rep. I didn't have to go in afterwards and despite all these benefits, right? You have to maintain authenticity. We're not talking about automating the interaction. PwC found that 82% of US consumers want a more human feeling interaction when they have a problem. We're talking about balancing automation with the human touch. Automation, boring stuff, saving us time to do the interesting stuff. So those are just two examples. My action item from this is hopefully you hit pause, you looked at your calendar, and you found the one thing. By just looking to automate that, you're saving time that you can reallocate into activities that require your unique human skills, empathy, creativity, strategic thinking. So that's this week's tech trends. And now let's put a bow tie on this bad boy. I'm going to get into some Q&A. If you haven't already, like, subscribe to the channel. I hope you got a ton of value out of the sales process trends, out of the tech trends. And now I'm going to jump into some of your questions as we sign off. This is such a great question in today's day and age where we're just like locked in on Zoom. And with Zoom, it's like, do I stare at the green dot? Do I stare at myself? Do I stare at the other person? And the answer is, look, if you want to understand emotional triggers, you need to be paying attention to the person in the Zoom. And I don't think enough people are really locked in and trying to make that kind of virtual eye contact and being like, they're distracted. That didn't land. Oh, they leaned back a little bit whenever I said that. So if you can't do that in the call, I understand, but go back and rewatch the tape. Go listen to your recording. You want to listen for intonation as well too. Like, oh, like this is interesting. Like that's actually the sign of someone who's like slightly interested. Are they asking questions? So when it comes to the emotional kind of component of this, you got to pay attention. You have to be actively listening. And when you're actively listening, it's not just what the words are that I'm hearing. It's also, what they're saying without saying it. I love storytelling. There's a book, Zig Ziglar is an old school guy, talks about storytelling. We as humans relate better to stories. Instead of just explaining a concept, you can say, look, let's talk through what this looks like in real life. Imagine this. What that does is it helps to create this kind of rich picture in our head of, ooh, this is the current state. Oh, that could be the future state. For me, if you're not storytelling, it's really difficult to make an emotional connection where the person starts to feel it. They're like, oh, wow. Well, what if I could do that? So storytelling is something that all of you should think about. When I'm doing my pitch or I'm talking about my product, do I have a way to explain it of like product, but I want you to imagine your day to day. So you're coming in, you're logging in, you're doing ABC. Now imagine this, right? So imagine, right? Get them thinking, etc. So storytelling to me, absolutely critical when it comes to, to, closing deals today for sure. So look, empathy is really an important part of sales. It's interesting. I don't know if I should admit this or not. I did a strengths finders, which is like ranks all these different categories of skills, and empathy was like in my bottom 5. But what I realized is what I am actually very good at is doing my prep to understand the role. Okay, what is somebody like this going through? Like, what are they thinking? And then asking smart and thoughtful questions around that. So to me, like, I think in the sales motion, I'm able to do that because I'm just so locked in on what is value to this person. Like, am I just saying noise, or like, oh, okay, that didn't land, this didn't land. If you're really obsessed with like, what's the experience for the other person, you're going to have kind of this natural empathy. But really think about it. Like, are you trying to get your agenda out? Are you trying to just go through the motions? Or are you really listening, right? Are you really making sure you showed up prepared? You thought ahead of time. And again, you can use ChatGPT for that as well too. But that to me is real empathy. It's the ability to do your prep, show up, with a level of understanding and ask smart and thoughtful questions that get them excited and create emotion within, them as a part of the sales process. We are living in this like hybrid AI, automation, human, oh my God, where do I fit? For a lot of organizations, what you need to think about is you have buyers who want different things. Some buyers I want to learn asynchronously. Other buyers are like, I want to talk to a person right now. And so what I think a lot of this is about is doing a better job of trying to understand what's the right interaction for this person. So for the person who's already coming in and they're like, look, I already know, we already use your competitor. I've got an active RFP out. For those people, like, I might want to load them up with some asynchronous learning. So I'm going to be automating some like snapshots of our demo prior to the call, some case studies before the call. I think a lot of this is just, where does the human go in the loop? And what I want you to do to figure that out is think about your different customer journeys. Okay, what if someone comes in at the very top, they're super, we call them vetted. What if they're educated, right? They're almost there. What if they're cold? What if they want a self-service? I believe almost every company should have a self-service option. Why not? Somebody wants to buy, let them buy. A lot of this hybrid to me is like, each one of these buyer journeys, where does the human go in the loop? Think about it like that. And I think you'll start to create a better experience both for your sales team and for buyers for sure. So when it comes to creating loyalty, all right, personalization has to be at the forefront, right? I don't really see how you can create loyalty if the person doesn't feel like, wow, this person is listening, they get it. So to me, I think there's a couple of things that, if you want to create a lifelong customer, that you can do. Number one is make sure you're constantly aligning to their priorities. And what I mean by that is, let's say if you're doing a monthly review with a client or quarterly, go into that call assuming everything's changed, as opposed to like, oh great, well, we last caught up, I heard these things, how are things going? No, be like, hey, from earlier, we talked about these 3 things. What's changed? Like, literally say what's changed as a part of that. By constantly doing that, you're going to constantly make sure that you're kind of staying in front, and you're able to personalize how they can use your product or how you work with them based on where they are right now. And I think that's what happens with a lot of orgs is the company kind of loses touch with what's a priority for the company, and they're still anchoring to what it was before. And so they're not really making that person, a loyal customer. So if you're constantly anchoring to what the priorities are now, you're assuming things have changed, you've got a much higher likelihood of creating a customer, hopefully for life. I mean, AI is already helping, me and a lot of the sales organizations we work with around decision making. It is amazing at being able to kind of play out specific scenarios. So for me, it's like, hey, I've got a tough meeting coming up. Here's the variables. Here's what's happening, etc. And then I can kind of bounce some ideas. And so I can go into that meeting like, okay, all right, let me think about this. Let me do that. It used to be I'd kind of role play a lot of this stuff in my head, but now literally I can like bounce some ideas off of ChatGPT or a custom GPT, and it just helps me to get to a better decision faster. Other areas is kind of aggregating content for me or like research. It's really great at that, to where, I could spend all this time going to Google and trying to find the things and saying like, hey, I'm trying to solve this thing. Can you pull like 3 or 4 relevant articles for me around this topic and summarize them around this pain point that I have? So its ability to aggregate a lot of content, its ability to kind of just be somebody to bounce some ideas off of, I think, dramatically will enhance any seller's decision making. And it certainly, does mine on a daily, weekly basis.